This is the third in a series of 4 videos that follow in the footsteps of George Taylor. It tells about the years from 1777 until 1781. It covers 4 separate aspects of his life in this time period: Indian treaties, slaves, final residence, and his will. What is now the First United Church on North 3rd Street in Easton was built in 1776 by the congregations of the German Reformed Church and St. John's Evangelical Lutheran Church. In 1777, George Taylor and George Walton, commissioners, were appointed by Congress to preside at talks in Easton with the 6 nations of the Iroquois. Taylor and Walton were given money to purchase gifts for the tribes, which were very well received. The new church was selected for the meetings as it was the largest building in Easton. During the Revolutionary War, the church was frequently used as a hospital for wounded and dying soldiers. In March 1780, the Pennsylvania General Assembly passed the Act for the Gradual Abolition of Slavery. The act created a process to abolish slavery for the subsequent generations. One provision stopped the importation of enslaved people into the state. Another section required owners to register their enslaved people every year by a certain date, or they would be freed. Taylor registered his 2 enslaved men, Tom and Sam, on the Northampton County Register, currently in the collection of the Historical Society of Pennsylvania. On the corner of 4th and Ferry Streets is the Parsons Taylor House, built by William Parsons in 1757. Parsons was a surveyor who was charged by Thomas Penn to lay out Easton. In 1906, the house was purchased by the DAR George Taylor House Association, who maintained it as a museum. The home was placed on the National Register of Historic Places in 1980. Taylor leased this house in April 1780. The house contains some original features, including several doors, the stairway to the 2nd floor, and the fireplace on the 2nd floor. The Franklin stove in the fireplace was made at the Durham Iron Works, possibly during the time of Taylor's lease. Also on the 2nd floor is a card table that was a gift from the donor's grandmother, who received it from Naomi Smith, Taylor's longtime housekeeper. Upon his death on February 23, 1781, his will acknowledged that he had fathered 5 children with his housekeeper and companion, Naomi Smith. Although he requested that half of his estate be given to her and their children, by the time the will was settled, his assets were minimal and the estate was declared insolvent. Perhaps the most intriguing aspect of the will is how and why, in 1925, it was discovered missing. Research by the staff of the Northampton County Archives discovered that the will found its way into the private collection of Dr. Thomas Addis Emmet, who later sold his collection to the New York Public Library. The last will and testament of George Taylor remains as part of their Thomas Addis Emmet collection to this day. The Northampton County Archives does have a copy of the will, along with many original documents pertaining to George Taylor and others in our local history. Those wishing to do serious research can make an appointment to look at maps, legal documents, and more.